Like a kid on Christmas morning. That is what it's been like being a Manchester City supporter over the last week or so, because things are happening and they're moving quickly. Welcome back to the City Ramble. We're upping the content throughout the summer on YouTube, so if you aren't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, get involved in the City Ramble Discord. Link is in the description. Plenty of City-related transfer chat, football chat, non-football chat. It's a great place to be, so make sure you are on that server if you aren't already. But guys, I mean, the mini transfer window has opened. Obviously, Club World Cup means it's opened a little bit early. It's going to shut on June 10th. It'll be open again later in June. But things seem to be moving, and I'm so happy that City seem to be using this mini transfer window before the Club World Cup to get players in. Look, nothing confirmed yet. I know there's people going, where are they? Where are they? Where are they? Patience. I think it will happen over the next couple of days. But I'm sure we all know the state of play by now in terms of names, in terms of links. Rayan Ait-Nouri, obviously earlier this week, that was the big one. Cherki seems to be getting closer. We've got Tijani Reinders as well. There was a video on the City Ramble channel from last week where we deep dived into what Reinders could add to City's midfield. But let's start with Rayan Ait-Nouri because he's a big talking point. City signing a left back. I can't remember off the top of my head the last time they did that. Was it Mendy? There's got to be another one since then. Angelino? Oh, anyway. Famously, City and left-backs don't necessarily go hand in hand. But look, this guy is an absolute, in my opinion, absolute machine. Just pull up his FB ref numbers here. This is compared to full-backs. You're talking the top percentiles for goals, assists, shots. But I think the most interesting part about Rayan Ait-Nouri's game is his versatility. Now, these clips of him doing the traditional fullback sort of stuff, bombing down the left-hand side, picking up the ball, getting crosses into the box. But you also see stuff like this, which, if I just make that a little bit bigger for you, you can see him there, just dead centre in the middle of the screen, where the ball's passing to. He does have that ability to invert almost like a midfielder. He's looking for the ball. Later on in this clip, I can't show it for copyright reasons, but later on in the clip, he sort of receives the ball. You can see number 20. It's a Crystal Palace game, Wolves versus Crystal Palace. See number 20. That's Adam Wharton. Possibly one of the best sort of ball-winning midfielders in the Premier League. Press-resistant, etc. Rayan Ait-Nouri gets the ball, he swivels him, and he gets an attack going. So he certainly has got that in his locker. This is him 1v1 versus Salah in a Liverpool game for Wolves, where he just basically stepped into him. And I think that's one of the most interesting parts I've found from watching clips of Rayan Ait-Nouri, is he's so front foot. Again, I'll pull up another screenshot. This is him winning the ball back, as you can see there. That's the opposition 18-yard box. It isn't his own 18-yard box. That's the opposition half. I think that's one thing that if this deal gets across the line, which by all accounts, it could be City's first signing of the summer, that's something that we'll get to see a little bit more. Our defenders, our fullbacks, our midfield as well, winning the ball high up. Can you remember the last time City were pressing high? It felt like towards the end of the season, don't get me wrong, needs must because of the situation City are in. But they were just kind of happy to concede possession at times. This should change with players like Rayan Ait-Nouri. So the hype is absolutely real. And I think it's easy to sort of, I guess, like when your team is linked to a player, it's easy to be like, yes, this is the best option. But personally, if I look back at City's recruitment since the treble, really, there have been one or two hits. There's been some still question marks over players. There's been a couple of misses as well. I don't, like, the point I'm getting is you can't glaze over what has been a pretty dismal couple of transfer windows for Manchester City. Ignore January, but before that, you have to say City haven't been proactive in the market. This is the opposite for me. This is the total opposite. I think it's absolutely justified excitement, which brings us on, of course, to Rayan Cherki as well. Two Ryans. I'm sure there's a chant in there somewhere. The City fans have got to get it going. If you want to see sort of more detailed breakdowns like we did for the Reinders video, looking at their strengths, looking at the weaknesses, how they might get involved in City's sort of setup and style of play, let us know in the comments. Another plug as well, make sure you're subscribed and you're in the City Ramble Discord so we can discuss all of this in much more detail. But news that broke, I think, on Tuesday morning. It's so hard to keep up with what's going on at the moment with City's transfer window, but I'm pretty sure it's Tuesday that Liverpool, Arne Slot, had been having conversations with Rayan Cherki. Whether or not they were sort of genuinely interested in making Rayan Cherki a Liverpool signing alongside Florian Wirtz, I don't know. But by all accounts, it feels like it is still. foot on the pedal, going towards Manchester City. That's kind of where we're at. So again, while there hasn't been any sort of signed, sealed, delivered, here we go from Fabrizio, etc., it feels like these players are getting closer to signing. And you just look at some of these stats. I mean, this is against attacking midfielders and wingers in the top 5 leagues of Europe across the last year. 99th percentile for assists. I mean, he's averaging an assist every other game. That's just astonishing. 2 shots per game. Again, something that we need our attackers to do more, especially with Kevin De Bruyne leaving. Shot creating actions per 90. It's close to 7. I mean, can you imagine pairing that guy with Erling Haaland? Erling Haaland could get 35 goals next season easily. Then you look at the sort of the more passing related stats. He's averaging 60 passes per game, a decent percentile in terms of completion. But again, referencing that quote from Kevin De Bruyne, if you're a creative player, not even necessarily a creative player, but even if you're, say, a box-to-box 8 like Tiani Reinders, for example, you don't want to necessarily be looking at high 95% passing accuracy. That's for the holding midfielder. That's for your number 6. That's for the centre-halves who are sort of dictating the build-up, tempo setting. If you're the creative asset in a midfield or an attack, you want to be taking the more risky passes, and that is exactly what Rayan Cherki, I think, excels at. One of his strongest points. This was from a France under-21 game. I'm pretty sure it's against Italy. And, I mean, just look at that sort of ball that's been threaded through there. It looks easy because it's a still image, but that player, a second before, wasn't even in the shot. This was from the same game, arriving at the back post, getting a goal. I think, for people who haven't necessarily watched him a lot, when I've seen clips, when I've seen him play, maybe this is an unfair comparison. I don't know. Again, let me know in the comments. But he gives me Mesut Ozil vibes a little bit in terms of that he isn't the athletic number 10 or creative asset like Kevin De Bruyne was. You know, De Bruyne would be getting the ball, he'd be sprinting at full speed, he'd be able to pull off those through ball actions at speed, almost a step or two ahead of the defenders. In terms of a City player, he's probably a little bit more like David Silva, and I'm not saying, you know, this is City's next David Silva by any means, but just in terms of the way that they get the ball, and it might take a second longer for them to make the decision, but the decision making is so clever. Like, again, Mesut Ozil. That's kind of the closest comparison I have been able to think of when looking at him play. But again, I mean, it is total excitement. I think after the stale season that we've just had, seeing a player like this linked to City alongside, you know, Tiani Reinders in that midfield, it really should help City step things up a level. My fingers are crossed that we get to see them in the Club World Cup, because as somebody who isn't fully locked in on this tournament yet, that's going to sort of increase my levels of excitement for the Club World Cup. If we can see Rayan Cherki, if we can see Rayan Ait-Nouri, if we can see Tiani Reinders, the rise are really sort of dominating this transfer window for City. I'm pretty sure I saw somebody say you can only add 3 players from the squad that you ended the season with to the Club World Cup squad. So I don't know if that is necessarily true. For example, City won't be able to add a 4th player. I don't know. Maybe, again, that can be cleared up in the comments. But it certainly feels like those 3 players have a really good chance at being through the door for that competition, which for me would increase excitement a lot. Just in terms of looking ahead to next season, this is just a complete sort of concept 11 at the moment. As you can see, you know, there's a couple of players in there who the links haven't necessarily been too concrete. But Rayan Ait-Nouri there at left back, Tiani Reinders in the middle next to Rodri, Phil Foden in the sort of the central attacking midfield role, the number 10 role. But again, you can sort of swap that with Rayan Cherki. You can have Foden out on the right side. You can have Cherki in the middle. The couple in there that haven't, we haven't necessarily seen concrete links for a while. Tino Livramento and Diogo Costa. I feel like those positions are going to be ones to look at after the Club World Cup, or in this second half of the transfer window, if you like. There was talk that Guardiola said in an interview, I think it was in Spanish or something like that, that Ederson and Ortega are going to stay. We'll maybe address that later on in the summer transfer window. If Ederson's locked in and he's sort of fully for the cause, I'm all for it. He's City's best ever goalkeeper. He's the only goalkeeper in world football, in my opinion, that gives City what they want, what give Guardiola what they want. My issue with that would be if it's a season like we've just had, where Ederson's head maybe isn't where it should be. He's, you know, in and out of the team, injuries, whatever it is. that could be an issue. So I've put Diogo Costa in there for now, but that could easily be Edison. I don't think many people would be too upset. The only other one, really, is the Morgan Gibbs White chat, which I think it was Romano reporting. City feel like he's too expensive. I'm not necessarily going to put a pin in that one yet, but I think it could depend on if we see any outgoings. If one of, or maybe even two of, Gundogan or Bernardo Silva leave the club, then City maybe go and get Morgan Gibbs-White, because then your midfield would be a little bit light. Does City sort of maybe wait till next summer if Bernardo Silva stays for an extra year, then goes and Gundogan extends? I don't know, which is a shame, because I really like Morgan Gibbs-White. I think he's a top talent. Obviously, you've got to keep in mind that homegrown quota as well. Like I said just a minute ago, right back and goalkeeper potentially wants to look at throughout the next couple of weeks, heading into July and obviously August as well. But I mean, guys, excitement levels are through the roof. So hopefully all of these deals go through, because if not, I'm going to look a little bit silly. But let me know. Let me know your thoughts on the potential transfers that Manchester City could make between now and the start of the Club World Cup, which is just, off the top of my head, about 2 weeks away. So, yeah, they can't keep us away for long, can they? It's been a pleasure. We'll have plenty of videos throughout the summer. Stick around for that. Hit the subscribe button. Get in the City Ramble Discord if you haven't already. At City Ramble on most social media. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, all of the lot. Get on us. If not, I mean, you're missing out, totally. But until next time, it has been a pleasure. This has been the City Ramble, and we will see you later.